you're watching this video review, then you probably fall into one of two camps. You're a child who loves Sonic, or you're an adult who's been following the series for more than a decade. And when Sonic Boom was announced in early 2014, you were either excited or you were less than enthused. I fell more into the latter camp. I didn't really like what they did to the cast. To me, Sonic the Hedgehog is a simple, classic, timeless design. Sonic Boom was more like a mutant aberration covered in too much flair. All of the jokes about Sonic getting taller over the years were actually ringing true, and worst of all, whoever they hired to redesign Sonic committed two cardinal sins. One, they gave Knuckles individual fingers, and two, they gave Sonic blue arms. From the outside looking in, neither change seemed especially heinous, but the part I had trouble getting around was that giving Sonic blue arms is usually seen as a red flag. Whether you're dealing with an out-of-touch parent or somebody creating illegal bootleg merchandise, giving Sonic blue arms is one of the biggest and easiest sloppy mistakes you could make. And in the case of Sonic Boom, willingly associating yourself with the trademark of cheap bootleggers is probably not the best first impression to make. Sega of America assured everyone that Sonic Boom was merely a spin-off, and not intended to replace the existing Sonic the Hedgehog designs. But to me that sounded more like they were giving themselves an escape plan should the whole thing bomb. There's information to suggest that conceptual development on Sonic Boom could have started as early as 2009 or 2010. You don't spend anywhere from 3 to 5 years planning a cross-media launch of comic books, toys, games, and a TV show, intending only for it to be a tiny spin-off. Sega had a lot riding on launching Sonic Boom successfully. Fortunately, the cartoons and comics generally seem to be somewhat okay, as long as you have an appetite for simple cartoon humor.
I'm all for fun, but aren't you guys exhausted? Orbot? Cubot?
They're robots. They don't get tired because they have no souls. Hey,
He's right.
But being born from a video game franchise, one would expect extra attention to be paid to make sure that the game adaptation of Sonic Boom turned out okay. It really didn't. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric is developed by Big Red Button Entertainment. If that's an unfamiliar name, don't feel bad. Rise of Lyric appears to be their debut, but don't think that Sega threw the game at unknown talent. Big Red Button was founded by former members of Naughty Dog. These guys knew platformers, having worked on games like Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter. One would expect that Sonic Boom was in good hands. It would seem that nobody told them that they had to make a Sonic game, however. Fittingly, Rise of Lyric feels like a holdover from the PlayStation 2 era of platformers. You slowly plod around its massive world, swinging from grappling hook points and punching an endless supply of generic robots. Neither element feels particularly like what you'd expect from a Sonic game. Sure, destroying robots is kind of Sonic's thing, but never has a Sonic game been a crappy beat-em-up like this before. Big Red Button says on their website that they specialize in character action games, a genre most closely associated with games like Devil May Cry. Despite sharing similarities with Devil May Cry's combo ranking system, Sonic Boom gives its characters very little to work with in its combat engine. Devil May Cry lets you set up enemies for launchers and has complex combo strings to keep the player engaged in the act of fighting enemies. Sonic Boom gives its characters 1 or 2 attack combinations, and that's kind of it. There's no flow, no engagement, you just simply mash the same button over and over until there aren't any more robots left. And killing robots in this game takes forever. Everything has about twice as much health as it needs to, leading to fights that drag on and on and on, seemingly forever. Even the Werehog in Sonic Unleashed was more complex, more balanced, and more fun than this is. Occasionally, because Sonic games have had such a good track record with them in the past, you're provided with one of several guns. Most of them alternate between feeling completely worthless and instantly clearing out everything on screen. However, they appear so infrequently and with such little ammo that I often wondered why they were even in the game at all. It almost seemed like a bug. All too often, Sonic Boom would present me with a gun-dispensing treasure bot that simply never dropped a weapon after being destroyed. Things are exacerbated by a twitchy and spastic camera system. When it's not shaking uncontrollably from every hit that you land, it's usually backed up against a corner struggling to frame who's attacking what. Sonic games are supposed to be about simple, pinball-like momentum, or the thrill of raw speed. Instead, Sonic Boom plays like a bad version of Ratchet and Clank. It does nothing but further erode Sonic's rapidly dwindling sense of identity, with a game that evokes very little of what anyone has ever enjoyed about this franchise. Rise of Lyric does try to let the player cut loose, with a number of travel sequences that find Sonic and friends running down twisting, looping roads at high speed, but these segments are as short as they are easy. They're also where a lot of the game's frame rate problems are, making it difficult to parse what's even going on most of the time. But penalties are slim and rings are plentiful, requiring minimal effort to stumble your way to the next overextended combat arena. Sonic Team's games were far from perfect, but Rise of Lyric makes it seem like Big Red Button was in over their heads. Despite how tangential it feels to Sonic Team's games, I was surprised to find that Rise of Lyric seems to frequently pay tribute to one of Sonic's most notoriously awful games, the 2006 release of Sonic the Hedgehog. If it was only one or two things here or there, I'd merely consider it a coincidence, but take this scene for example. Here we see Sonic the Hedgehog surrounded by robots on all sides. They all open fire on him simultaneously, leaving Sonic presumed dead. This scene very closely mirrors the original Sonic 2006 tech demo, where again, Sonic is surrounded by robots on all sides and is supposedly killed in a hail of gunfire. Then there's this level. These giant walls of water seem to be a deliberate reference to the final area of Kingdom Valley in Sonic 2006. And when you break it down, the structure of Rise of Lyric seems to be disturbingly similar to Sonic 2006 too. You have an overworld populated by quest-giving NPCs, there's a shop where you can buy skill upgrades, and the aforementioned travel segments could be seen as an adaptation of Sonic 2006's Mach Speed Zones. And, just like Sonic 2006, the story incorporates an element of time travel. Even the swirly time portals look kinda similar. It also pays tribute in ways that are probably less intentional. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric just so happens to be one of the most funky, buggy games I've played in a long time. Characters will talk to you, but their voices will be muted. When dialogue audio does load, it's the wrong dialogue for the wrong scene, like here where Amy Rose calls out to a character that doesn't exist.
Way to go, Percy!
I'll take these if you don't mind.
Subtitles frequently contain typos, like this character who says, "I hope Lyric isn't interesting in running for mayor." He isn't interesting in running? Then there's your CPU teammates, who frequently go brain dead. They'll get stuck repeating certain actions forever, they frequently space out during combat sequences, and occasionally even outright commit suicide. Sometimes things will just blink out of existence for seemingly no reason at all. And then there's the game's cutscenes, which, despite bearing compression artifacts suggesting they're pre-rendered videos, contain a number of visual glitches, from weirdly twitchy animations to severe graphical problems. It ends up being rather ironic that Rise of Lyric so willingly winks and nods at Sonic 2006, because it also ends up following in its footsteps of being a total buggy mess.
Nice start, losers!
The surprising thing is that I don't hate Rise of Lyric. Maybe I'm crazy, but through all the negatives, I can see something in there. A twinkle of potential that, if circumstances were just a little bit different, the game might have actually turned out alright. Maybe not great, but at the very least decent. I have been asked whether I thought Sonic 2006 could have ever been fixed should they have given it more development time. My answer to that is a definitive no. Sonic 2006 was like a celebration of everything bad in 3D Sonic games. It had a melodramatic story, awful controls, annoying mechanics, and it took pleasure in wasting your time. It was fundamentally a broken game on almost every conceptual level. Nothing could fix it except to throw everything out and start over from scratch. Rise of Lyric is not a broken game. It's a buggy game to be sure, and possibly actually more buggy than Sonic 2006. But there's a difference between being buggy and being outright broken. Big Red Button's legacy as former Naughty Dog developers is plainly obvious. I'd love to hear an insider story about what happened on Sonic Boom, because I'm confident that with an extra 3 to 6 months of development, Big Red Button could have turned Rise of Lyric into something that was, at the very least, a lot better than this. Rise of Lyric just has a cool tone. With its cinematic score and a focus on exploring ancient ruins, it really conveys an adventurous, almost Indiana Jones-like atmosphere better than any other Sonic game has ever done before. While the story itself is throwaway garbage, the characters themselves are obviously having fun, showing a range of emotion we don't typically see from this franchise. None of Sonic Team's games contain dialogue. Instead, characters engage in an extended series of one-sided declarations.
What happened anyway? You're too good of a pilot to just crash like that.
That was a test run using a new prototype propulsion system. It's got a few bugs to iron out.
It's the difference between talking to someone and talking at someone. Sonic Boom, on the other hand, gives us the first Sonic game to contain what actually sounds like casual conversations between friends.
Did Eggman look a little thinner to you?
I wasn't really paying attention. Do you think so?
I do. I wonder if it's diet or workout.
I would say stress. He is always so wound up.
Stress. Good call.
And even though the character swapping mechanic was an awful, poorly utilized concept in Sonic Heroes, Rise of Lyric almost makes it work. A team of 4 characters means that you can frequently break them off into pairs, leading to some occasionally amusing banter as personalities bounce off one another.
Boom! It's opening! Oh, we should totally hug!
No.
That's what I meant. We should totally keep going.
Better yet, obstacles are usually designed to be tackled by multiple characters in different ways. For example, if you're paired off as Tails and Amy, each one is usually given a unique route to the goal, allowing you to pick and choose where you want to go and how you should get there. Even if it's nothing tangentially like a regular Sonic game, actual talent from people who cared was put into Rise of Lyric. Most of its biggest problems just require a couple extra coats of paint to tie everything together and make it work. And you know what? All jokes aside, I don't even care about Sonic's Blue Arms anymore. Instead of getting the game we deserved, we're left with something that's simply not done yet. In that regard, Rise of Lyric is more like a real Sonic game than anyone knows, and that kinda sucks. Let's be clear. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric for the Wii U is a game intended for children. Some people will tell you that this affords the game a lower bar of quality simply on the grounds that children aren't smart enough to care. There's a line in The Simpsons I go back to a lot, where the TV network is running a focus test trying to understand why fewer kids are watching the Itchy and Scratchy show.
You kids don't know what you want. That's why you're still kids, 'cause you're stupid. Just tell me what's wrong with the freaking show!
The idea is that children simply haven't been around long enough to form strong critical opinions about what they enjoy, so they tend to be a lot more easily entertained by simple things that an adult might not like. This is something that's at least partially true. Growing up in the 1980s and 1990s, I loved the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon. Going back and watching that show now that I'm an adult, however, I find it to be completely insufferable.
Ice cream! And it's blocking the exit!
Isn't there a fire law against that?
It's so obviously just a poorly crafted toy commercial, and I would know, given that I still have all my old Ninja Turtle toys packed away in a box. While there's a market for that, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good practice. At its best, it's the entertainment equivalent of junk food. It tastes good, but will eventually rot your teeth and make you unhealthy. At its worst, this practice is treating children like subhuman entities, and also they can sell them more toys. Plus, I mean, you could even say that Super Mario Bros. Is technically a game intended for children. It has bright colors, cartoony characters, and simple gameplay. But it's not just for children. Like all of the best stuff from your childhood, Super Mario Bros. Is a game that grows up with you, and no matter what age you are, it still remains entertaining. All games should strive to be the best that they can be. Intentionally aiming low just because you're set on making something intended for children is absolutely ridiculous, as is providing forgiveness to bad products for taking this path. There is never an excuse for a bad game, no matter what age group you're aiming for. The same could be said for having potential. Gaming is not a charity. This isn't elementary school. Developers don't get an award just for trying really hard. When you buy a game, that comes with certain expectations. If you buy a car, but on the way home from the dealership it breaks down and needs to be towed, then it's a bad car. You are paying for a standard of quality, and the expectation is that you'll receive a functional, finished product. Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric is not a finished product. Even if I can see a twinkle of potential, that doesn't really represent the reality of what Sonic Boom actually is. Now, it's worth mentioning that in the lengthy process of putting together this video review, Big Red Button released a patch for Sonic Boom. Shockingly enough, despite being over a gigabyte in size, it fixes very little. Even in the patched version of the game, every single bug I mentioned earlier is still present and accounted for. There are still typos in the subtitles, the graphics still flicker, it's all still here. The patch only really seems to do two things. One, it patches out the infamous infinite jump bug with Knuckles, and two, it apparently improves the frame rate in co-op. I couldn't find anyone willing to play this game co-op with me, and let's be honest, can you really blame them? Oh, and this happened in the patched version. I'd actually considered doing a separate video on what's different after the patch, but the improvements are so few and so minor that there's not really a point. It's a shame because that means, patched or not, Sonic Boom is a buggy mess, with tedious combat, a choppy frame rate, and gameplay that otherwise only just barely resembles what you'd expect from a Sonic game. Its storyline is a borderline incoherent mess, where plot threads are brought up, treated as vitally important, and then immediately forgotten. It might not even be fair to call this a game. It's more like an unfinished beta version that was accidentally pressed onto a disc and shipped to stores. I don't think it deserves all of the negativity it's been getting, but it's definitely not a game worth buying, and I'm sure that's a bummer for more than just consumers. And that's the final review of 2014 done. Except, well, it's kind of clearly 2015. Sorry this took so long. The holiday season ate up an unexpectedly large amount of my time, and I've been setting a lot of things in motion since the last review. First and foremost, there's a specific website now for Better Late Than Never video games. It collects all of my video reviews and most of my text reviews. Just visit bltn.net in your web browser. I also have merch now, too. If you like my artwork, you can get it on shirts, smartphone cases, stickers, and other stuff. You can go to my Redbubble store by going to bltn.net/shirts. And then, of course, there's the big one. You asked me to launch a Patreon, and I did. If you like my videos, or my games, or my artwork, or anything else I do, well, now you can support me doing that stuff directly. And in return, you get access to secret bonus videos, original games I've created, commissioned artwork, and more. Don't believe me? Just ask the following members of the Patreon Cool Kids Club: Ryan M., Ryan L., Thomas G., Nolan, Keith, Lord Muck, Setsune, Tom B., Rose S., Christopher, Christian W., Jack D., and Matt P. These aren't just people, these are titans of generosity, and you can be one of them. Just head on over to patreon.com/blazehedgehog. It should actually be written out on screen right now. As of this recording, I'm only 80 cents away from my first milestone goal, which is to reduce how many ads show up on my YouTube videos. All it takes is one person to make a difference, and if a lot of people pledge, then I'll start doing more streams and let's plays and all kinds of other stuff. It also means better videos too. Cutting together a video like this means taking weeks just to prepare this footage for editing. There's a whole long, complex conversion process that I won't get into here, but if you pledge to my Patreon so I can build a new computer, things will speed up dramatically. If that sounds like something that's interesting to you, consider donating. Every dollar counts. Also, I'd like to give special thanks to Imran Khan for providing me with some of the footage for this episode. You can check out some of the stuff he does over at nitrobeard.com, where they have podcasts and articles and all kinds of cool things. And if you poke around a little, you might even find my guest appearances on a couple of their podcasts. But as always, thanks for watching my videos, and I'll see you guys on the next one.